welcome to the WoodsTalk podcast. Welcome back, everybody, to the WoodsTalk podcast, a very special, weird episode that came out of the weirdest conversation of all time. I'm pleased to welcome Mick Conlon back to the show and special guest, Mr. Danyl Johnson. And it's
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. Thank you for giving us a bit of your time. For any neutrals listening, this has come about because myself and Mick did the last episode of this podcast, and we were speaking about covers because that's pretty much what Mick does for a living as part of a duo when he plays the violin and plays 90s dance on a violin, which is outrageously good, I have to say. And we ended up speaking about covers in general. We spoke about how Joe Cocker's version, with a little help from my friends, is a very good version of that song. And then we realised at the same time that there's a better version, and it's in the form of Danyl Johnson's first X Factor audition, which I would still say is probably the best first audition to this day. Sorry to put you on the spot, Danyl. Would you agree?
No freaking way. Have you seen James Arthur or even Subo? You know what I mean? Like, I watch back mine, and all I want to do is like criticize myself and be like, "What the fuck are you doing?" If you go back and you go and check the words as well, it's the worst thing ever. I don't think I've got most of the words right, but it was fine because one thing is I'm not a technical singer. But what I used to sing at like different places all over weddings and events and stuff like that. And when you do this as a living, no one cares. No one cares. Okay, so you have to do something that shows like there's something more than just you singing the song. And I've been doing it for like years and stuff, and still no one cared. But for to do it on the stage for 6 minutes, and then you get this standing ovation, all that stuff. I'm just like, but I literally critique myself all the time on it. But to be honest, Stacey Solomon, I'm a big fan of her audition. I thought it was quite nice. But thanks, guys.
Yeah, you're very welcome. I think it's it's cool to have you both on because obviously Mick has also some experience on the X Factor as well. If you want to tell us that story, Mick, and the song that you chose.
It's a short story. Yeah, I've always been a person that believes if you think you could do something, go and do it. I hate people who watch quiz shows and go, "Oh, that's easy, I could do that." So I think it was like 2005, 2006 maybe, and I auditioned. I didn't get past the preliminaries, but it was an interesting experience to do it because the whole zoo of it, people acting like maniacs, and it was explained to me that you either have to be incredibly brilliant or mental,
or both. I think
or both. Like if you're in that Venn diagram there in the middle, it's great, but it's because everyone's got their ID numbers, and then people are radioing producers. They're really silly, so put them through because they'll make good TV rating. So you sort of learn. You kind of knew how the process worked, but to actually experience it. So I got my 20 seconds. There's your mark. Stand there, sing your song, and it's yes or no. I got told no, and then I went home. But I did it.
Yeah, but that's like most people who audition for these shows, because what is it, like 100,000, 200,000 people audition and 12 people get into the show. Like most people get sent home. And I think that was a high proportion of people who do X Factor who've done it multiple times until they get through. It's very rare that you get through on your first time ever. I think you may be on a database. I think I auditioned in 2006 or something like that. And yet again, they just didn't care. But to be honest, they didn't really care when I auditioned this time. It was only when the audition actually happened, which is it was all a mistake. Everything, what happened that day was a complete mistake. I wasn't supposed to be there. I wasn't supposed to sing that song. I wasn't supposed to get through. It was all just of the moment and all the things that built up that day, because I was the second to last, I think it was that day. And when I asked, I said, "Oh, I haven't been seen. And one of the producers just went, "Oh, are you still here?" What? Okay, cool. I'm glad I've been here for 7 hours of my With
Yeah.
well, I only had like my friend and my sister and another friend. I didn't have like the hordes of family that people like to bring to these auditions on a Tuesday afternoon. How have they got their time off work?
This is literally my story, but there's a different ending.
Yeah.
This is what this feels like.
No, but I went back. That's the thing. I went back. Mick, if you went back, then maybe you could be as big as, I don't want to say any names because I'm going to get in trouble. As big as...
To be fair, Daniel,
I'm
in
going to
my
say
world,
Chico
I'm pretty
because
big.
it is highly referenced in this podcast as Chico.
Yeah. Chico.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fair.
I don't have the hips, but yeah, okay.
Not with that attitude. You know what I mean? But I have to say, Daniel, the thing that struck a chord with both of us in terms of your audition is the choice of song. I mean, as I say, we're big fans of that track. Did you agonize for a long time to choose that? Or was it, as you said, was it like a spur of the moment thing that was in your repertoire where you're like, this is a good one to do?
I think the main thing about it was when choosing songs, because we weren't supposed to be singing songs to track. This was a brand new thing that was happening with X Factor, and they were kind of changing everything. And I think in the last minute, they had already done auditions in Scotland, and then they decided to change the fact that they wanted to make it a bit more Britain's Got Talent. So they changed it to a open, audience and stuff. And now we have to sing to track instead of singing in front of a room in front of Cheryl, Danny, Lou, and Simon. And they're like, have you got tracks? And I was just like, yeah, okay. And I had Walking on the Moon by the Police, which I'd sang at all my other auditions. And I had John Legend's Ordinary People, which is a bit basic, but I don't know. That definitely wouldn't have been enough to get through. And then I had With a Little Help from My Friends. But the main reason why I chose that song or that version is because the backing track that I had was the best backing track that I still own now.
Yeah.
And it's all about the music, isn't it? It's all about your band behind you, and if you're playing to track, then a good backing track.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. But I do feel that, like, it was such an unusual choice, because I would have thought before you said that the X Factor would have been very sort of strict on what you can sing and what you can't sing, because they have a certain demographic. Because
that comes later.
Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah, but I've struck a chord there. But
no, not at all. I mean, at the same time, you can't, as a child, do what you want. There is parents who say, do this, don't do this. And it's in the parents' interest more than the kids' interest sometimes, because maybe they just can't be bothered, or maybe they don't have the copyright for you to sing that song. So I felt like, when we're doing the show, we have to remember that there's multiple different reasons why you might not be able to sing the song that you want to sing.
Yeah. But as I say, with a little help from my friends, particularly that version, the usual demographic, I'd say, in the live audience and even people watching at home, I wonder how many would have been familiar with that track. That's why I was so surprised that you were allowed to do it, because it's technically a lesser appreciated version, even though it's vastly superior, in my opinion. I don't know what you think, Mick, but...
No, I agree. It's definitely one of those special songs that it outdoes the original. And no harm to the Beatles. They did okay. They did well. But it's sometimes like there's just like a different energy. And I think like Ed Sheeran has said, like, the songs he's written and he gives them away. And people are like, why have Adele had such a big hit with that? Or somebody else had a big hit with that? Like, yeah, but it wouldn't have been good if I sang it. And I think like that was one of the songs the Beatles should have given away, because there's a shite. And then Joe Cocker smashes it out of the park.
Yeah.
And then Daniel shows up, catches it, and fires it into orbit.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So,
it is such a classic song, and it even went to number one with Sam and Mark, who did Pop Idol back in the day, and they did a cover of the Beatles version.
That's right.
And that went to number one. So it has a massive power no matter what version you're doing. And for me, I think if you're ever going to sing a song that might kind of choose the direction of your life, choose a song that is fucking awesome. And hopefully don't ruin it. Like, there's so many songs that I would have ruined, and I did ruin, and it's on YouTube, and people remind me of it all the time.
Yeah.
Just don't sing I Don't Want to Miss a Thing is what I'm trying to say. It's really not. It's really not.
Yeah. Oh, it's just, yeah. I think as well, the thing about your audition was there was a real lightning in a bottle feeling as well, because I've never seen anybody do that well in front of an audience wearing a shirt and like short trousers. You know what I mean? That combo, no one's done it since. No one's got the reception.
I still own those as well. I don't own it, nearly anything from X Factor because I sort of just gave it away to other people, but I still have my original shorts and my original top. And I think I was working at Gap at the time, so I think it's just Gap clothes. It probably smells so bad. It hasn't been washed for like, I don't know, 12 years now. So
yeah, that's cool, man.
That's interesting.
Yeah, that's cool. It's what about you, Mick? Any vibes?
Well, the thing is, right, man. I mean, let's talk about the elephant in the room.
Alexandra Burkes' song. What are you talking about?
Yeah, no. The thing about it is, as Woodsy was saying, like, it wasn't lightning in the bottle moment, and it was for a show that. Okay, this is my perspective on what happened that season. Like, I don't watch the show anymore. I haven't done in years, largely because of what happened in that season.
Stop it, man.
It felt like, or it felt like organically, because even though there's a lot of pre-planned things and it's produced and we get all that, it did feel like organically everybody went, "Oh, here, so we have our winner. This is the guy," because he just blew everybody out of the water. And I got the vibe that the producers didn't like that because they can't sell a spoiler. They're like, right, we need to take this guy down a peg or two. We need to start dropping little seeds of stuff to create that sort of soap opera sort of dynamic, when in fact it should just be like, I love MasterChef Professionals as a talent show because it's pure talent. There's nowhere to hide. But it did feel to me that season of the X Factor, now don't get me wrong, I'm not slating anybody who progressed and got to the final or won or came second or third or whatever, but it did feel that and my dad himself said this to me yesterday because I told him we were doing this. He's like, "You tell him I said he got screwed." And that's my personal opinion on how I think. Now, you seem like quite a humble guy and you're not going to turn around and go, "Yeah, Mick, you're right. Screw them all." But it did feel that there was that whole tabloid. Like, I don't buy tabloids. I don't read them. I wouldn't even wipe my arse with them in case I got a paper cut. I'd probably, I'm really against that world, and I'm not even in that world. So for you to have been like a school teacher who sang at weddings on the side or whatever like that there, to then be thrust into this world of evil, effectively, because that's kind of what fame is. I can't imagine what that did to you mentally, because it must have been such a struggle. Because how can people expect you get to, "Oh, you're too arrogant," so then you come out and you sing a song and you're quite humble and you're like, "Oh, you need to have more confidence." It's like, well, you just pick a lane.
Yeah.
Am I right?
There's loads of stuff going on, and I've sort of spoken about some of this, with other people's, never on other people's podcasts, but just chatting with other people I know. And there was loads going on, and there was loads going on with me. And when the audition happened, like, I was just working at school, you know what I mean? And I worked at Gap part-time when I was singing at weddings, right? And so that audition happens, but that audition happened like ages ago. The show didn't even go on TV until like August. I think I did the audition in February, you know what I mean? Like, it was way down the line. And so also, though that situation happened and it happened in front of me, there was no video. Sorry, my dog's just found a squeaky toy, of course. There's no I had no video of it. I didn't know it went well. In my mind, I was like, "Oh, I think that went okay," and everyone seemed to be happy. And then I went away, and then I did like this massive tour thing. Like, it was only like 6-7 nights, but it was in a row, and I blew out my voice. I blew it out. And boot camp was the next week for X Factor. And the funny thing about boot camp, there are 2 performances. One, I don't think they even televised. I think it was that bad. And the second one was just really, really difficult and loads of stuff were going on. But I couldn't sing. But also, I didn't want to say that, because who wants to hear that? "Oh, I've got a sore throat, I can't sing." So I'm trying to hide that, the fact that I actually can't do what I used to do, because I just blow my voice out. And I still was kind of a bit like that at judges' houses. I hadn't really come back, and I was really worried. And I think the audition helped me sail through that whole situation. I don't think I would have got through. I honestly, like, if there was 5% less or something, or they edited it in a different way, I don't think what happened really with that year is Simon Cowell changed the whole of X Factor, and me, Ollie, Stacey, Jamie, and a few others proved him right to have done that. We went on that stage, like Jamie Afro went on that stage and sang Sex on Fire the year it came out, and he got Simon Cowell singing, and he was just like, I've made the right decision. Ollie did that with Superstition, and Stacey did that with One for One. I'd pretty much say me, Ollie, and Jamie wouldn't have got through if it was a normal audition. We needed a stage, we needed people, because I think we're massive show-offs. And it's really difficult when your parents fuck you up, your friends fuck you up, everything fucks you up. And then if you go and do a reality TV show, it probably will fuck you up. But it's about how you come out at the end of it and what you take. And I remember someone saying to me, this all ends and then you can just be normal again. Like, you can't be normal, but you can be normal again. It's not, you're not going to have this scrutiny that you have on you right now. And I think people should say that to people in Love Island or Big Brother or all those other TV programs. Like, everyone that hates you, Rylan, right now, everyone that hates you, you finish this show and then you do what you want to do.
Yeah.
And obviously, I want to knock on people's doors and give them money, like a glorified Keith Chegwin.
Can I give you my address then?
Yes, anytime. I have loads of say. I'm just letting you know, people's postcode free. I have no say about it.
Well done.
Oh, you're very that's a very, very healthy attitude towards it. And I've always wondered, you brought up about losing your voice there. What can you do when you lose your voice? Like,
nothing.
You just have to wait. You just have to wait it out. Essentially, you can have certain teas maybe, or drink honey.
No, it doesn't touch it. The only thing really that you can say honey and all that stuff. It's placebo effect, and if it works for you, great. The only thing that works is rest and steam. Like, nothing else works.
Yeah.
If you blow out your voice, you've just caused damage. It's a bit like if you run and you hurt your leg. You stop running and take some rest and have a warm bath and do that for like the next 6 weeks, and you'll have it back. But if you carry on going and you pretend, and lucky enough, my voice came back for the show, so I was just like, oh, okay, well, if I'm going to choose it and I'm lucky enough to get to this point, then that's the way I definitely would have it. But obviously there was loads of scrutiny. We're the same year as Susan Boyle and Britain's Got Talent, and so at that time, reality TV shows had the audience a bit like what just happened last year with COVID and stuff like that. Like Netflix and Disney Plus and Amazon Prime and all that stuff, they had an audience, and at that point X Factor had the audience. They didn't have Netflix or Amazon Prime or any of those things around, so they just smashed it. They were smashing Strictly, ITV had it down, and they were picking casts right, or the right people were auditioning, or they were making the right storylines. But for me, and a lot of people go, oh yeah, he got good. They gave him a really hard time. But if you go back and you look at the votes for the show, if they gave me a hard time, I won the show. I won that week. And if they didn't, I didn't win that week. And it was really, and I didn't know this. I would have loved to have known that. That would have been great. I would have felt a bit better in myself. But they might have known this. And like, well, if we want to get him to win the show, maybe this is the way round. And not thinking, actually, this is still a human being and we should be signed. I mean, mental health wasn't even a word. 2 words back in 2009. We were assessed and stuff like that. Are you okay? Yep. Okay. And they talk about like the show, giving people a hard time and the judges, but it's not scripted. It's all just it's just drama. It's melodrama. I think what makes it always difficult is outsiders in the press, and the press is just doing their job. They don't know you personally. Who cares? People go and say, oh, I don't like that latest reality TV star. I don't like Gemma Collins or anything like that. Be like, have you actually met this person? Like I befriended in the last couple of years of people who are relatively quite horrible about me in the press. I befriended them on Facebook and I'll just have chats with them because, like, I think the female singer called Robin, I'm just a human being, and they lose track of that sometimes. So if you just go, hey, you all right? And they're like, oh, wait a minute. You're not a dick that I've portrayed and I have in my head. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, you're actually a normal person. Well, I wouldn't say normal.
It's like being nice is the ultimate revenge. It's like the best way you can get is just
Kill 'em
be
with kindness.
so nice to the point where you're like, you can have my Netflix password. I'll make you a
Yeah.
quiche. I'll do whatever you.
And I think Netflix are coming for me. I'm a little bit worried. They're like, you've just had a little allocation from somewhere in Dubai. Is that right? I'm like, just giving my code to my friend. I haven't. Netflix, I have not given a code to any friends. We're gonna get cancelled. I was just thinking, right? There's a bookshelf behind me because you have to do a Zoom call with a bookshelf, and I thought, oh crap, what's on that bookshelf that's going to ruin my career?
Yeah.
Well, we're okay. Look what's behind me.
Yeah. My face in general.
Yeah. Last year, Scotland Yard announced that this was a logo for a terrorist organization.
It's pirate. It's like a pirate, isn't it?
It's a flag for a German second division football team that I follow called St. Pauli. They're very all the graffiti and the messages at their stadium are anti-homophobia, anti-racism, anti-sexism, no human is illegal. That's all they stand for.
Wow.
They're just, and so if you're seen to be wearing their logo,
yeah,
you've been deemed a terrorist by Scotland Yard.
I'm going to say, mate, you can't win. You know what I mean? You can't win in life. You could be the nicest. And I think I'm a massive comic book fan, and I think it was in the Superman comic. He's like, you either die, you die young and you're known as a hero, or you live long enough to become the villain. And that's it's so true. You know what I mean? If you keep on going on a thing that people love you, in the end, people probably hate you. In the end, there's too much of you, or that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I think it's the current climate. It's just a matter of time before somebody gets annoyed. And some of the stuff that people get annoyed about now, we are like, relax. Like, I mean, I don't know, like if you find this in Gap, Daniel, but myself and Mick have both worked hospitality and retail and stuff like that there, and we've talked extensively about just the stuff that will get people like angry, not even just annoyed, physically shaken with anger. Like when I was working in a shop behind a till, it was a warm day and there was a bee near the bakery, and a woman complained that the bee was there, and I'm like, what the fuck do you want me to do about it? She's like, there's a bee near that croissant. I'm like, what am I going to get a big fucking net and chase after the bastard? Like, what am I supposed to do? And it's only got worse the last couple of years with social media. Everybody will complain about fucking everything.
I think this, I've got it down, all right? I understand what's happening. So, Nan and Grandad were pretty tough on our parents, I think. So their mum and dad, pretty tough on them, right? And so then our mum and dad come into the world and they sort of give us a little bit more kind of slack. They're not going to make us do the things. They're not telling us off the same way. They're not going to be strict. They're not going to have corporate punishment, all that sort of stuff, blah, blah, blah. And I think that we've started slowly diluted everyone's kind of resistance to someone just being a dick and you just going, okay. I think Joe Rogan says it, like, in a room of 100 people, one is a dickhead, right? One is a dickhead. So if you make that in America, like 300 million people that are in America, you know what I mean? Like, there's like 3 million dickheads. And you're like, what? But the funny thing is, if you're in a room and everyone's lovely, so you say you're in a room of 100 people and everyone is lovely, be careful because you might be the dickhead.
Yeah.
Just be really careful. Like, everyone's great. I love everyone. They're so, oh crap.
I was wondering what point you were trying to make there. I thought you were trying to condone bringing back beating children. I was like, is that what he's doing with this?
Yeah, I'm trying to counsel myself on this one podcast. That's it. Yeah, I've got 4 listeners on my podcast, so I thought I'd just ruin other people's. It's fine.
Yeah, man. Well.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. How do you find the podcast and life, Daniel? Is it something you enjoy? I suppose you can't say, "Oh, I hate doing it." To be fair.
Yeah, it's a pain in the ass. I'll tell you what, guests just piss me off. No, I mean it is.
We agree.
I was like 3 minutes late. I was like, they're going to be so fucking annoyed. Yeah, I think
Stacey Solomon was on time. Just saying.
Shit.
We're joking.
She definitely has more kids than me. I've got like one dog that's sort of running around. I don't know what carnage she's causing behind me, but it's fine. Yeah, I mean, podcasting is a really funny thing. I've been listening to podcasts for ages and all different ones. And my friend got me into Adam Buxton, and then my dad wrote a porno and stuff like that. And then there was obviously things like Serial and then other people started bringing out podcasts like Ferg Cotton and Jessie Ware, which is hilarious because Jessie Ware is this wonderful singer and her podcast is bigger than her music has ever been. And it's hilarious that sort of relatively happened. She's got a cookbook out of it and, you know, doing this podcast with her mum, and her guest list is insatiable. And obviously she is famous, but she also has a booker. So that definitely helps. I just message people on Twitter until they say yes, which has weirdly worked. I got this really old, like, school amazing, he's not old, but old school amazing singer from the 90s called Connor Reeves, and he has the most soulfulest freaking voice ever, and I used to love him when I was a kid. And I asked him to do the podcast. He was like, okay. So he did episode 2. I was like, how the hell has this happened? So it's been nice, and I started it because of COVID, and I had some free time, and I just bought some equipment because everything was a bit cheaper, and me and everyone else, I had a radio show for BBC Berkshire, so a local BBC station, and we left that, and then we decided to do this podcast, and we just wanted to do something uplifting. And so we called it Best Thing, and we just talk about people's best things in their life, from TV and film to music to travel to food, just really generic things, and they can choose their own subject, something random as well. And it was just a great way to have a chat. I had my mum on there. We've got the Go Compare guy, Wyn Evans, who's absolutely hilarious, great stories. I got a guest who was on the Joe Rogan Experience. I heard him. He's an English journalist, and his name's Johan Harry, and he works a lot in mental health, and he's got a book called Lost Connections, and he kicked off episode 1, season 3. And I'm like, how are you doing my podcast? And it's because before I've never told this story, and I'm gonna get properly in trouble, and he'll tell me if he hears that, but we're friends now. He liked every single picture of me on Instagram with my top off. And that's how
haven't we all?
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Mick. I did get those likes.
I'll do it now when you're telling the story.
But he's a lovable guy. He knows what he wants. Which isn't me, so it's fine. And so it is fun, and you get to interact with people. I had a producer right at the beginning, so I didn't have to edit it, and then we lost our sponsorship, and then I didn't have my producer, so I learned to edit. But it was I think we nearly had finished the whole of season 2, so it's like 10, 11 episodes, and nothing had been edited because he couldn't do it, and I didn't know how to. So I just spent maybe 5 weeks learning how to edit. And now I can just 7 out of 10 edit a podcast.
Yeah, fair play. I mean,
how do you find podcasting? You liking it? Because you have like quite nice dulcet tones, and I feel like the conversation was like really nicely put together with you two, and then with your guests a couple of weeks before that and stuff. And I just felt like you allowed them to speak, but you also guided it in a really nice way, which wasn't weird and controlling.
Oh, thank you. The dulcet tones, I'll respectfully disagree.
Yeah.
Hey,
for context. Context, in Northern Ireland, where Rory's from, it's like Birmingham accent. Okay, that's the way you kind of look at it that way and go, "Fuck, what they're invading." Yeah. You know what I mean?
I'm sort of I'm trying to describe it for you. Like I'm sort of semi-farmer country, but a wee bit of like small town aspect, like where I'm initially from. Like it's not really with the times. Do you know what I mean? There's about 20,000 people. We still use a sundial to tell the time. We still use infrared to send songs. Do you know what I mean? It's old school, and parsley is the most insane bit of food that they've ever seen. And tobacco onions. My town went mad for that. Oh, abs sluts for tobacco onions. Eh? Oh my god!
I live in a small village too, to be honest, and so there isn't many people around here either. So I do understand that. But we have like a where I live in Reading, we have this sort of farmer, but Bristol, but Windsor kind of accent. It's all over the place. My dog is whinging. She's like licking her bowl. Like, will you feed me? I'll feed you in a minute. It's fine. She just wants food all the time.
Oh, that's. But thank you very much for the nice words. Yeah, I was just doing solo episodes of the podcast for ages, which is.
And then you got the talent on of Mick. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Then when Mick joined, you're like, yeah, now it works.
And then I knew Mick before I was doing podcasts or comedy or anything, and then just during lockdown, everybody was free, so nobody could say no. That's the most psychotic thing I've ever said. But you know what I mean? Like everybody was in the house. Do you know what I mean?
100%.
It's
And
like-
now I'm into series 4 on my podcast, and now people don't say no because they're like, oh, you've done enough series for
Yeah.
me to go, I kind of trust it, or you've had this caliber of guest, so I'll do it, you know.
Yeah. So it's it was a good way of keeping busy. I'm sure you'll agree. As I say, I was doing a lot of the editing and stuff myself, and it was just a way of getting conversation into my life beyond myself and my wife, who I'm reasonably fond of. But you know, like, do you know what I mean? Like after a while, you're like,
Yeah.
I need to talk about something else, but beyond what we're going to do when the lockdown ends. And it was all very much interior decorating from Lisa's vibe, where she was like, she was on Pinterest and all these mad websites, and she was like, we should like, you know, get an old cabinet and like remaster it. And okay,
Is that what's going on behind you? Because you do have this insatiable background. You're either outside near your shed, or that's a fake background. I wasn't sure.
I'm actually lying down on my boat at the minute.
You look very relaxed.
Just chilling on the boat here.
Yeah.
It's a good background. I'll say that. It's a good
Yeah, it
background.
was,
I mean, this is how much my background's changed. If you can just see right in the background, what the song changed my life. It's in the background here.
Oh, that's cool there, man. I like that.
Oh, cool.
That is really cool. Actually, yeah.
I'll help. That's fine.
Yeah, it's good that you still like the song too, because
I do.
I'm sure you're
Great
like you always get like connected to that song. So it's good that you still enjoy it instead of going, for fuck's sake, that fucking song.
It could be worse. You could feel that way, and that would be absolutely terrible. But no, I don't mind it. I
Yeah,
don't mind it at all. It paid for the mortgage.
yeah. Well, that's what we assume.
That's all you can ask.
Yeah,
That's all you can ask.
yeah. You can't really ask for much more, I have to say. Mick, what about you? Any questions you want to fire at Daniel?
Aye, man. What's your beard grooming routine? I'm joking. No, what happened?
I thought you were going to ask my star sign. Then I was like, oh, fuck.
No. So, like, no, we'll go back a bit. Like, we know what you do now, but like, what's the bit in between?
Yeah.
Did you find yourself like getting booked to do corporate events, or were you, did you go and do 1830 holidays, or what happened in that middle, or did you just like become like, I can't be bothered with the fame? Just leave me alone. I want to go back to being a teacher.
Just ayahuasca, really. One sec, let me just grab my dog because he's going crazy behind me. One sec.
No
worries.
bother. Now he's away. We can talk about it.
Yeah. Yeah. I actually think that with a little help from my friends,
He's
it's
not
the
going to be happy
shittest song
here,
ever.
but it's fine. We'll just do it. It's fine. Ugh. There you go.
Yeah.
Right, you're going to be calm?
Yes.
Just, I mean, the in-betweens and stuff, it's really funny. So when we finish the show, we go on tour. And then after tour lasted like 3 months. We did 57 arenas around the whole of UK. We came to Belfast as well, which was, we said at Europa Hotel. Is Europa Hotel?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Most bomb hotel in Europe. Yeah.
Yes, I did hear that. And
They tell you that when you check in. They're very proud.
yes,
Like,
I
I know.
sleep
I was
well.
like, oh, okay, thanks, guys. And then me, Ollie, and Stacey Solomon, Ollie MURS, sort of just went on tour, and we sort of were touring together for maybe, I don't know, 2 years and stuff like that. And I was just like, oh, I'd like to kind of just do some stuff and try and write some music and blah, blah, blah. So I was reaching out to people that I liked and people that might be interested in working with me. I had a phone call from Diane Warren, who wrote Don't Want to Miss a Thing, Unbreak My Heart, all this sort of thing. So I went over to LA and met her, which seems so weird to say that because she was just super, super normal. And also Diane Warren, so super, super like crazy. And I think it was David Gray was there and Nadine Coyle was there, like just randomly just recording random songs. And I said to her, oh, we're going to go and watch American Idol if you want to come along. And she'd like, I'd rather stick needles in my eyes. I was like, okay. So we left, I sort of left there. And then I went to Nashville and started working with this producer called Jamie Kenny, who was working with this guy called Mark Broussard, who I just loved his music. He wasn't overly mainstream, but just this amazing kind of soulful, beautiful singer. And so went to Nashville and just wrote. The main problem is, and I think this is relatively right, if I came second or even third, or first in the show, and they started prioritizing people in the show that came fourth, I think I'd be really, really upset with that situation. And I think that their thinking was that they needed to focus on Ollie, who came second, and Joe McElroy, who came first at that time. And so for us to have help, or for us to try and make a career for ourselves through music, was going to be more difficult than if we came in a different kind of number in the show, and which is relatively fair. I wish I knew that, because I would have spent less money or less time just trying to do singing still. But then, because the problem is it becomes your job, and at the beginning it was always just fun. It was just like a passion. It was just like, oh, it'd be really cool to do that. And then as soon as it becomes your job, you're like, oh, it's like a business, and everyone makes a decision, and I have no say, and and that's fine, because if you can do that, then totally do that. But if you, in any sense, I mean, if you're an artist, probably don't do X Factor, because I think you'll be too used to choosing what you want. And if you're just a singer-songwriter, then they don't really want you, because you want to write your own stuff. Back in the day, later on, that you could sort of sing your own stuff. But it's just difficult, because we have been dreaming about, singing and not even fame, but just being recognized. That's saying, and to be a singer. And then you get it and you're like, oh, this is quite nice. And then you either watch it fade or you go and do something else. And I think I just went, I'm just going to go and do something else. And I still occasionally sing, and I do like charity stuff and blah, blah, blah. But at the moment, it's not my dream anymore. I think my dream is more, I don't know, making a difference, or legacy stuff, isn't it really? So, but yeah, I mean, you can get lost, but I still haven't had a real job in 12 years. And I feel very lucky for saying that. I have a great job that I very much love, but I don't have, a 9-to-5 job.
Yeah. It's cool.
No, I get it, man. I quit my job 4 years ago.
Yeah.
To be a musician full time. And
amazing.
Excluding the last 15 months, it's been the greatest decision I ever made. But it's like you're talking about passion and stuff. Like, I found when we did our first gig back, music started up here on the 5th of July.
5th of was, yeah.
And on the 9th of July, our first gig back was at a music festival.
Wow.
And we were on a big stage, and there was like 1,000 people in front of us. And for context of what we do, I'm an electric violinist, and I play with a fingerstyle guitarist, and we play 90s dance music, heavy metal, things like that. There, all the stuff that a violin and a guitar should not do together. And like it sounds really, really like hippie and stuff to say this, but like the wall of energy that sort of came at us, all the good vibes from people just delighted to be entertained again. I started crying on stage.
Oh, I mean, that's pretty sweet. I mean,
but yeah, the guy beside me didn't. And he was like, what's wrong with you? I was like, you've 2 kids. You've a purpose in life. This is all I have. I was so dramatic.
He should be crying, because he should be happy to be... He should be happy to be outside the house, to be honest. To be like, I'm away from the kids and the family.
Yeah.
Mate, you shouldn't be judged for crying. I think it's fine if that's how you felt in the moment. But I felt what you did was judge him.
But yeah, but no, and now I've got my purpose in life back.
There you go, and that's so important.
Smile again.
Yeah, and I think that's really important. And maybe I think sometimes, especially with performing, I feel like you can get out of like sync of it, and I sort of have worry about going back to doing gigs again and stuff like that, because I don't know if I can do it again. And obviously, you just get back on like a bike, but the thought of it beforehand is just petrifying. I just feel like, oh, do I want to do that again? And I did like an online show. I've never done musical theatre before, but some agent sort of person came and asked me if I'd be in an online version of Godspell. It's a 50-year anniversary of it. And I was like, yeah, cool, no problem. I'll do that. And not realizing that the whole cast were like proper West End entities, like superstars. And there's this dick from X Factor that just sort of popped up in the middle and be like, hi. And then they were like, we're going to do a live show. And so we did like a live screening of it. So we could play it on the big screen, like an outside cinema. and but we came on and sang our version of the songs, and I just felt so like to go on stage and sing one song. And I know I did an X Factor. It's so weird. It's a bit like what happened in the Euros, like asking Marcus Rashford to take a penalty when he's not even kicked the ball yet. It's mental.
That's a very good analogy, I have to say. Yeah,
it's mental. I didn't get the feel for what we were doing. I was just like, oh, okay, here's a song I'm gonna sing for you, and then if it's rubbish, there's no more of me. You know what I mean? Like,
I think that's like shooting a sex scene in a film. Like, there's no cut. Like, we haven't like even had I haven't bought you dinner yet, but we're having to do this thing.
Yeah.
And there's 20 people. The sound guy's holding a sandwich, and it's it's all very detached from what it should really feel.
I like how you took it to that, Mick, because you did say in the podcast when you talk about me that you were going to have a threesome. So I'm just going to put it out there.
Well, do you know what? To be fair, and do you know what? That was the best thing, because whenever you messaged us, I knew you'd listen to the podcast, because we didn't go, Danyl Johnson does a really good version of that song, we should have a three-way. They were like 15 minutes apart, those two statements. Yeah. I was like, he's listened. He knows what he's getting into.
I didn't just listen. Now you're a part of my podcast listenership. But I had to go back because I've got some stats here for you guys. So for the podcast, you've done 2 episodes in June, but in May you did 3. In April, you did 9, same in March, and then you did 10 in February. I'm feeling I need new ones coming out, and I know I might be part of this, and I probably won't listen because I'll be too annoyed with myself for saying stupid stuff. But I need more content from you guys, so I'm just saying so because I only listened to a few podcasts, and now you've got into that situation. Yeah. So,
well, that's the thing, though, because Rory, this is Rory's podcast.
Yes,
I have my own with the other musician, because literally, it's only because we weren't playing music and we needed an excuse to talk to each other. And then Rory came on mine, and then I went on his, and then this bromance of the 3 of us just blossomed.
Yeah,
and here we are at the summit.
Yeah, this is like the SUGABABES getting back together, isn't it? This is the original lineup.
Yeah.
Can you name them?
No, but I can play one of their songs. Our cover of Push the Button is our most wet. Like,
it's a great song.
We play that in nightclubs and bars, and the men go crazy for it, for Push the Button.
It's a great song.
And we like, because we're instrumental too, which is it's mental to play songs like that instrumentally, and people go, yeah, push the button and let me. There you go. Yeah, it's a great tune.
Oh, it absolutely is. I don't know.
You're not getting away with it, though, Rory. You're gonna have to. What are the names of the SUGABABES? Original. Come on.
I know.
I want to know this.
I can give you one.
Okay, that's fine.
Mucha Buena.
Mucha Buena.
Which sounds like something you get that sounds like something you get in IKEA, doesn't it? It's like a lamp in IKEA.
Can I get one Mucha Buena and
and chips
and some dime bars, please.
The names of SUGABABES. So you got Mutia, you got Keisha, and you got Siobhan was the originals, and then Siobhan left. Heidi came in. This is the content that people want to listen to. And then Mutia, So and then Mutia left, and I think Amel came in. And weirdly enough, Amel was a songwriter and by accident wrote songs for Mutia's solo album, but Mutia didn't know this. And then Keisha left or got kicked out of the band, and Jade Ewan, who had represented us in Eurovision, I think she did quite well. And then the SUGABABES were a completely different entity.
Yeah.
Is that your specialist subject on Mastermind?
Yes. I think it doesn't go too far then.
I do legitimately know somebody who works on Mastermind. It's filmed here in Belfast.
Okay.
And I think she's the assistant to the director or something like that. So if you want,
put my name forward. I'm there. I'm there. We had Tom Reed Wilson as a guest. I don't even know him, but he's a very out there character, and he's the receptionist in a reality TV program called Celebs Go Dating. And he's kind of made a really big thing of his name, and he's a lovely chap and stuff. And he talks like the Queen. It's incredible. But he was on Mastermind, and he won it. And I think what was his subject? It was some Sound of Music or something like that. I don't know what my real specialist subject would be. I think I know. I'm like a primary school teacher. I know enough about everything, but nothing about anything specific, you know?
Yeah. What would yours be, Woodsy?
Not the SUGABABES, anyway, clearly.
Yeah, we've guessed that one. Yeah. You did get 1 point, though.
Sassy, Daniel, sassy.
I think just my favorite combination of shirt and short trousers. That's like performances involving people.
There were a few out there. I mean, there's none out there. It was a hot day, by the way. It was a hot day, so that's why I was wearing that.
Yeah.
Do you want to get juicy? Do you want to find out like some little elements of some story stuff? I don't know what I can give you. I feel like I should be prepped, like I'm going on Graham Norton, and have those sort of stories I can just
go for it.
Throw out.
Go. Was it, man?
What can I say? Okay, so I think you were speaking about it in one of not the last podcast before, and you talked about that a person in the audience can ruin your performance.
Yeah.
You said, so if one person looks like they're not having a good time, that's a person. Do you focus on that person? I do listen. Do you focus on that person, or do you not focus? And just let it go and blah blah blah. And I remember being at a gig, and it was me, Ollie, and Jamie, and Ollie was playing. And he was a bit late. Not his fault, but we were just a bit late. And the audience were kind of a bit all over the place. Anyway, he got on stage and he sang a song. Well, he sang like 4 songs. And one guy in the audience stood there, and me and Jamie just at the back watching. And I know, don't worry, I'll feed you in a minute. And literally was doing this.
Nice.
Yeah.
For the audio listeners out there.
Sorry. If anyone is just listening, because obviously if you're not watching this, I was putting up my middle finger and swearing at Olly Murs, looking very unhappy. And I remember just turning to Jamie and I just went, yeah, we're gonna be in trouble on the ride home, aren't we? Because I just knew that Ollie wasn't going to take it well. And it's so funny because I said to Jamie, what would you have done in that situation? And I said to him, I would have just gone, mate, I finish in literally 15 minutes. I know it's shit, and then your girlfriend bought you, but trust me, I finish in 15 minutes, and can we get him a drink? Like, just make a thing of that person.
Yeah.
Don't allow them to ruin the show. Just make them feel comfortable, or they can laugh at you, or whatever. Like, you know what I mean? And get them a drink. Because I always think that half the audience are only there because the other half has dragged them along to come and see me perform, and not because that everyone in the audience wants to see me. And so I thought that was good. And Ollie came off the stage and he was just furious. Absolutely furious. He forgot like there was 1,000 hot girls in front of him just screaming, screaming and throwing their pants and bras and I nearly said tampons, but probably not that, on the stage.
Phil Taylor, just fucking darts.
And it's just one of those things. It's just, you can easily let people, get you down. But the main thing about it, especially in if you're performing, is don't assume that everyone's there to love you. Just be like, yeah, I pretty much assume that only half of you or quarter. So I'm just going to play for you, and the other ones that don't give a crap, just go and talk at the back or whatever.
Yeah, that's a good attitude to have. I wish I had that. I mean, I've been...
You're like, fuck him, get him out, I hate him.
I fling
my I
fling my tampons at him, but fuck you fucking dick. Like throwing stars.
Oh, joy, pure joy.
But like, because of doing stand up, like I'm lucky enough I haven't really got bad heckles. But like the weirdest heckle I got was when I was in Dublin, and some guy shouted mid joke that my neck doesn't suit me.
Wow.
Yeah, which is very. I don't know whether to be like, all right, I'll get that fixed. You know what I mean? It was. He was very.
Did he find one that did suit you? Because I don't mind a heckle. I don't mind when people say, that's not great, but I want you to then go out and find something that would suit me. Yeah. Like, you'd be like, this one's great.
Yeah. What about this one? It's a lamb's neck. You'd be like, fuck's sake.
You've got to put that in your set, though. I feel like that's a thing that you would put in your set.
Oh, very much so, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And then the other thing, now this is quite rude, but I love it. Like, obviously, there's a Belfast mentality where we're very direct but not very well spoken people. I was at a gig, a fella was performing, and there was a drunk girl, which is like kryptonite for a comedian, and she wanted to tell a joke, and she walked to the stage and like, I want to tell a joke. So the comedian was like, okay, and handed her the mic, and she just told this like a joke you get on a penguin or like on a Christmas crack. It was shit. There was about 400 people, ate all the dick in the room, right? And all you hear from the darkness, there was like a bit of silence, and in the most Belfast accent, some guy just shouted, "Hang yourself, you cunt!" And it was just the most direct thing. I was like, holy shit! Like, I mean, the joke wasn't that bad, but it's just hang yourself.
I would make t-shirts
Yeah,
and
all about that merch.
Woodsy, this is what we're missing.
I know.
We need a creative director.
I know exactly. I wonder.
And this is why he's not putting this on his own podcast.
No, it's not. Nowhere near. My podcasts are nice and cheery, no swearing.
Yeah.
No, literally, people have been talking about fisting on my podcast. So it's not even go there. It's all like anyone can talk about whatever they want. It's fine.
Yeah. That's such a beautiful phrase.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Do you know what I mean? I mean, hang yourself. He kind of got the point across.
No,
just
you
by
forgot.
that.
Hang yourself, you cunt. I
Yeah,
felt like.
yeah,
You've got to have the whole thing. Hang yourself pretty harsh.
yeah.
The ending, hilarious. All right.
Hang yourself. P.S. You're a cunt. Kind regards, Danyl Johnson.
I'm so. Do you know what? It's funny as long as that didn't happen. Like if it does happen, it's fucking terrible. But if it doesn't happen, it's fun. It's a funny story. I feel.
Yeah. I mean,
It's a bit like someone falling over and it's quite funny, but if they really hurt themselves, then it's not funny.
I don't know if she, on her Insta story the next day, it was her buying a belt or something like that there and was getting ready.
No,
But-
she was
Fuck you.
drunk. She didn't remember it. She told a shit joke. That's what happens. You tell a shit joke, you get that. That's
Yeah, that's a guilty hangover. Do you know what I mean? When you realise, I made a tit of myself at an event, not just with my friends, at an event. Do you know what I mean? That's a bad guilt for the hangover.
Yeah, but you're drunk. It's fine. I did drop a microphone on a kid in a wheelchair at a gig. That didn't go down too well.
Yeah.
I've fallen off the stage multiple times. That definitely happens.
And the one gig or just overall?
Just happened in one show. It's very.
Did you say to the kid, "Can I borrow your wheelchair?"
No, the worst thing is, like, I felt so terrible that I got them on stage. I don't even think they were a fan. I think they were waiting for, like, I don't know, the Teletubbies after me. I don't know what was going on. But I was like, yeah, come on stage, we'll make a big thing about it. And
Yeah.
Was there a rap?
He seemed not to care. No, we just had to literally just hoist him.
Oh, man, we're all going to hell.
Not even in the wheelchair, just out of the... No, I'm joking. Obviously, we go to the ramp and we pushed him up the ramp.
Here's a sex swing we happen to have. Oh, my mom's going to watch this. Oh, Christ.
So sorry.
Oh, well.
For anyone that
She
finds
knows,
anything
she knows what I'm
offensive.
like.
It's
Yeah.
fine, don't worry. We've already thrown the C-bomb out, so it's
Yeah.
fine.
I suppose you could have dedicated a song to him as well and just be like, get by with a little help from your wheels.
See, that's what happens. Comedians in a room, yeah.
Yeah.
And then that's the jokes. Okay, that's fair.
Yeah, I took it very dark.
Very.
Pick and mix has got very dear. Let's lighten it up. Very expensive now.
Very expensive. It's so expensive. You spoke about this before. Can we, before we go, because I feel like you will kick me off. Well, you spoke about films before, and I'm such a massive film buff and stuff like that. And I think you spoke about horror films as well. And for me, horror film wise, I think that Get Out for me isn't a horror film, but I understand the genre. That is an absolutely amazing film. It's probably better than Us, and even though that was still a good film, but just not as great. But I think there's two films that I think people miss a lot, and one is What Lies Beneath, with Michelle Pfeiffer
And Harrison Ford. Yeah.
And it's a really good thriller. It's not maybe a horror, but the one that got me and still gets me to this day is The First Descent.
I don't
The
think
girls
I've
that go
seen that.
caving.
Yeah.
I tell you what, watch that. I'm not going to tell you anything. It's the most claustrophobic film you will ever watch. It makes you feel sick. It's not like Buried with like Ryan Gosling in like a in a coffin and stuff like that. This is like they get stuck caving, and it's horrible.
Yeah.
And it feels horrible, and that's like an amazing film. But yeah, I'm such a I love all Marvel stuff, and obviously I cried when Endgame happened, and even though I feel Infinity War is a better film, but my main films are like Alien, Jaws, Jurassic Park, like
You're our age, I think so.
Yeah.
Is that your sort
That's
of?
what I grew up on.
Is that your semi Mount Rushmore of films? Alien, Jaws, Jurassic Park. What would be your fourth if you had to do the full thing?
Probably like Finding Nemo. I feel like if you think about that film, I think it's just And I like your face. Oh.
Jaws, Finding Nemo.
And then I'm going to throw another curveball in there as well. So I'm going to throw in, I'm going to say 2 films because they're sort of side by side because they're both about the sort of Turing test, I guess, in some sort of format. But one would be Ex Machina, Ex Machina, is how people like to call it. And I think that was Alicia Vikander. And Her with Joaquin Phoenix and Scarlett Johansson.
Yeah, that's really good.
One of my favorites. Like, if you haven't seen it, it's just amazing. I know
It's on the list.
I know.
Yeah, it's really good. It's another example of like Joaquin Phoenix just being incredible. Do you know what I mean? Like, I like Joker, but should he have got an Oscar for that ahead of other things like The Master and Her's amazing too. Like,
yeah, Her is just so great. I think it's one of my most watched films apart from Alien. I think.
Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah. I watched Alien at Christmas with my family. That's what we did. Christmas Day.
It holds up really well. I watched Alien a couple of weeks ago, weirdly enough, and I think the build-up, even if you've seen it before, it still works. You know, the fact that they dragged it out so long, you got glimpses of the fucking thing, and it still holds up.
That's why it works.
Yeah, the building the tension, the fact that you see very little of it, and it's so weird now that there's been 119 Alien films now, and as the technology is amazing now. And all the Alien films look shit now. Like the actual Alien itself.
Yeah, they've tried too hard.
Yeah, I agree. That's weird, isn't it?
Yeah, they tried too hard. But yeah, I think that like sort of movies has been really important to me, and obviously like music as well. But I think that for me, it was like that escapism that you just have, and I was very lucky as a child that I went to the cinema like a lot, like the Back to the Futures and all that sort of stuff and blah blah blah. Though I have to say, I did feel like the Endgames and Infinity War, they did feel like my Star Wars. You know, the excitement to those films I felt like was really, really high. Are they going to look good in 10 years, 20 years? Maybe, maybe not. But Iron Man still looks good. Isn't it that bad?
I agree. In terms of, you know, if we want to do a bit of both, what sort of soundtracks stick out to you then, if you're a film fan and a music fan? You know, and particularly as a comic book guy, you know, there's been a couple of cool Marvel soundtracks. I still think Danny Elfman's Batman and John Williams' Superman scores are fucking still up there.
You
like,
can't beat them.
Yeah,
You
proper
can't beat
elite
them.
stuff.
They're
Like,
just
you know.
classics. Soundtrack is a really hard one, isn't it? I tell you what, and it's a bit of a controversial film just because there's an actor in it that people find controversial. But the Baby Driver, I feel like he chose the tracks before writing the script for Baby Driver.
Yeah.
He got them through. Edgar got them through because he had what he wanted. He got every single song he wanted.
Yeah,
every single song.
And
it's
that's
incredible.
a huge soundtrack too. I have it in vinyl. There's a massive amount of tracks there. I know that Edgar Wright and James Gunn, who did the Guardians of the Galaxy films, they had to meet beforehand to make sure that there was no crossover of tracks. Because obviously, swear to God, they actually had to speak and be like, "What are you doing?" And he's like, "Well, I've got SUGABABES in mind, so you can have
push the button, push the button." Mixed version. Let's get him rich. Let's get him rich.
Come on. You'd have to put the Matrix in there for me.
Oh fuck yes! I just downloaded it on my iPad because it's on Netflix now. So I've just downloaded.
Yeah, I literally watched all 3 in one night last week. I had a hangover, like a 2-day hangover, and I watched all 3 in one sitting.
I mean,
the music is just mental.
2 and 3 can get in the bin.
Do you know who was actually meant to originally be cast as Neo?
I don't want to say it because I do know, but I want to see if everyone knows. Do you know?
Will Smith, isn't it?
It was.
Yeah.
And he turned it
And
down.
do you know why he
because
didn't get the part?
Oh, go on, tell us, mate. Kill him. Go on, tell us.
Well, he didn't get the part because the brothers who are now the sisters
what
gave out the scripts. And
have they? Have they? Fuck
Yeah,
off.
both of them.
Did they really?
Both of them.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
did.
they were. Yeah. What are they called? The Wazowskis. Wazowski
was
brothers.
it? No, I'm thinking of Monsters Inc. That's Mike Wachowski.
Mike Wazowski.
Mr. Wachowski, if you got your paperwork.
Mike Wazowski.
Yeah, so they were given the script and they were given the 2 or 3 books that the film's based on, and they were all told to read the books before you read the script, and Will Smith didn't. He read the script and didn't get it.
Yeah.
So originally, what they wanted to have was Will Smith as Neo, and then as Morpheus, Russell Crowe.
Yeah.
Wow.
because they wanted the black and the white. So then,
Yeah,
because they
so
got
they
Will
just,
Smith, then they changed it to.
And obviously they gave it to Samuel L. Jackson. I'm joking. Obviously they didn't give it to Lawrence Fishburne, but that happens a lot.
Yeah, that
people
really
do
does.
that, they give it
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Guys, I'm going to let you just talk between yourself for 2 seconds while I just feed this dog that
Go for it,
won't
mate.
stop.
No worries.
You carry on. Just
Go.
You can now slack me off for a second. I won't be able to hear you.
Yeah.
No problem.
SUGABABES are class. Big fans. Trying to think of other like soundtracks and stuff. I know didn't Will Smith.
Well-
we'll bring us up when Daniel's back, but didn't Will Smith was Django in Django Unchained initially?
Yeah.
Originally too. That's another one we can talk about.
And then there's like Mortal Kombat and things like that. You know, there's
For the soundtrack, you mean, or Will Smith?
there's some films that it's like, yeah, well, of course that's the music for that film.
She did that really annoying thing of I fed her and then she just looked at it and she went, I don't want this.
I want steak tartare.
Yeah, I fed her
right.
cheese the other day and it didn't go down well because she was then ill for the whole day. I
Yeah.
was like, oh crap. Do you know, I've done that man thing as well. That I'm going to see if my lead comes over here. I've left the fridge open.
What a professional. What a professional.
We were just saying there, Daniel, about Will Smith was also Django in Django Unchained initially as well, and then it didn't work out. Yeah. No. Yeah, no, I agree.
It's a Jamie Foxx situation.
Yeah.
That's a good film.
Yeah.
I actually like From Dusk Till Dawn. I know a lot of people don't.
I do.
I think it's a really
I
good
love it.
film.
That's a great film.
I think it's
That's
great.
one of his best.
Yeah, Tarantino's very good at playing a creepy bastard, isn't he?
Shocking.
Yeah,
Funnily enough, being a Hollywood director.
yeah, I know.
He was on Joe
Good
Rogan not
reference.
long. He was on Joe Rogan not long ago actually, and he was speaking about loads of stuff there.
Yeah, he's an
about the
intense dude.
directors and-
I have to say, he's a very
Harvey.
intense guy. Tarantino.
Well, Harvey said yes, like helped him with all the films, didn't he? They worked side by side, didn't they?
Yeah, for a long time. So, would you assume that he knew? Like, there was always whispers about Weinstein. Plus, he looks like the kind of guy that would have no choice but to.
Oh, Dave Chappelle says, "Oh yeah, he rapes." You know what I mean? Like you could,
He's partial to sexual assault.
he did make people stars, though. You know what I mean? Like,
Do you know what must be mad though? Just thinking, turning down big roles or being cast in a very big role and having to pull out for whatever reason. You look at like Tom Selleck was Indiana Jones, and then chose to go back and do, was it Maverick PI or something? It was Magnum PI, not Maverick
Magnum
PI.
PI,
Magnum
yeah.
PI, yeah. And you must look at that and go, oh, for fuck's sake. Do you know what I mean? Like, I could
there's
win
this new
Indiana
thing on
Jones.
Netflix about people turning down parts, and I was watching one on Die Hard, and there was they asked Arnie, they asked Stallone, they asked loads of people
Yeah.
before they asked, and then the other cop they asked, he actually auditioned for it, where they asked Wesley Snipes. He was going to be the cop in that film.
That's right. I actually was fortunate enough to be a restaurant I used to work at. Charlie Hunnam plays Jax in Sons of Anarchy.
Yeah.
He was a regular because he was in Belfast filming. He was there for 3 months, so I got to know him because he'd come in every day and eat. And he told me that he was meant to be cast as Christian Grey in 50 Shades of Grey.
Right, I see that.
And instead, he chose to do Lost City of Zed,
I see
which he
that.
was in Belfast to film.
Yeah.
But he was also, we also used to get the Game of Thrones casting as well, and the directors would all eat. And he was in for dinner one night, and he was pointing at a director, and he was like, "Mick, who is that?" I was like, "Oh, it's Jack Bender. He's one of the directors." He's like, "Yeah, he offered me a part in Game of Thrones, but I took the King Arthur job instead." You're like, bro.
I suppose you don't know though. You don't know until
No,
these
you
things
never
come
do.
out and be like, they're massive cultural.
But he's like a real purist, I think, when it comes to acting. Like he's very much
Maybe
he
too much.
becomes the role.
Maybe too much.
yeah, to his
Yeah,
detriment.
but he's a
yeah.
nice fella, very attractive.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
he was from Crew as Folk. You know what I mean? Back in the day, that was what
That's
I
right.
remember that, yeah.
That's right.
art was. So,
If I was going to let any guy have a go at me, sorry, Woodsy, sorry, Daniel, it would be Charlie Hunnam.
that's
Yeah.
fair. No, that's
No,
fair.
no, you get fussy. All right.
Weirdly enough, Mick, you know him, so there you go. Have a
Well,
fun.
there's a base there, you know. I've technically got him dinner before, you know. I brought it to him. So. There we go.
You served him up a main course. Right.
Aye,
That's mine.
he's He's drank from my glass. You know what I'm saying?
All right. See, I
so
knew the
it's getting
flag.
out
I
of
knew the
control.
flag was something else behind you. Come on. Oh, it's some team in Germany. Yeah.
Classical violinist. What are you trying to say?
Yeah, fiddling.
I was gonna get literally. The dog ate all the food. She must have been starving.
Yeah.
Bless her.
Brilliant.
So sorry.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
She's good.
I think unless you're happy enough to stay on for a few minutes, Daniel, we could maybe wrap it up there. I don't know.
You can wrap it up.
Yeah,
Good.
but again,
thanks so much for having me on.
You're
though.
very
That's,
welcome. We can do this again, though, for sure. I mean, I'm more than happy to, get this set up again for another time. If everybody's keen, like a SUGABABE
If you want to do a
special.
PG version,
Yeah, we do one without saying the C word, talking about
about rimming and
just added more stuff, Mick. Stop.
Oh, that's the Festin motto, isn't it? Just added more stuff. Would you dip your fist in pesto and
Okay, now my mum's listening to this.
yeah,
And that's a wrap.
yeah.
Thanks so much for having me. I've definitely lost my job. But yes.
So have we. I think as well. We have to be a SUGABABES tribute act now in fucking Lanzarote or somewhere. Do you know what I mean?
the salty lads.
I guess I'm going to be Keisha. I'll be Keisha. It's fine.
Yeah. We're the Caster SUGABABES or something like that. I don't know.
We should just write a musical. I reckon there's good enough music to do a musical with SUGABABE songs. So we
Yeah.
should maybe look to do that.
Yeah,
up
definitely
for
good. Where can people find your podcast, Daniel? Before we go,
They can find it absolutely anywhere. And they
Tesco,
can get it on
great.
Spotify and Apple and Tesco, of course, in the bargain bin.
HMV
With
on
Chico's
the-
album. And it's called Best Thing. And there's 3 series of it so far. And if you can't bother to listen to an episode, there are best bits of Best Thing, series 1, 2, and 3. So they're only like 20 minutes. So people can just listen to all of season 1, 2, and 3 in a 20-minute sort of section. And I have another podcast because I'm greedy. And it's called Little Help. And it pretty much is what it says on the tin. So it's just Little Helps every single day, a 2-minute podcast. It's a bit of a pick-me-up. And yet again, you can find them on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, and anywhere else that you want to just get them. But yeah, so Little Help and Best Thing. There you go.
awesome. I'll put the links in the description. We'll do a fake goodbye and then
Okay.
yeah, just for the purpose of the edit. So
You
Daniel,
didn't say Namaste either, by the way. I was
Yeah.
waiting for it.
oh, were you waiting for that? No,
We have ourselves a fanboy, would you?
yeah.
I told you I'm there. You might just think that I'm just on here and I'm just like, oh yeah, I'm trying to like promote my own stuff. No. If you're a fan of me, I'm a fan of you, and I am a fan of you from listening to your content. So
Yeah.
I need to follow your podcast, Mick. What is it? What's it called?
String Ninjas.
String Ninjas. Well, I guess there's only one there's only one podcast called that, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, bro.
Yeah,
Oh, hopefully, anyway. That's what you hope.
yeah. No, there's actually 3. Sorry, guys.
Some guy who likes to do crochet.
The logo is there. That's the logo there.
Oh yeah, no, I see it. I've got it here. That's a good logo. I like that.
Thank you.
I am following it. This makes great. I tell you what's great for a podcast. Following other people's podcasts that you're doing a podcast with. God,
It's like the Inception or something. Podcast within a podcast.
a dream within a dream. That's what we should do. We should do each other's podcasts within the podcast.
Yeah, that'd be amazing. I have to say. Daniel, thanks again. Seriously, we didn't expect you to get to reach out, and I've had a great time, to be honest. I've really enjoyed it. Hopefully you have as well.
Yeah, it's been great. And
Yeah.
if you want to do my podcast, there's a massive queue, so you might have to wait. It really fucking isn't, because no one's free anymore, because everyone's like now on holiday in Mykonos,
Yeah.
so it's fine.
Well, as far as engaged, I know Mucha Buena's ahead of me, Keisha, and
And Siobhan, don't forget Siobhan.
Yeah.
Come on.
And then-
Chico.
She's got the most Irish name you can have, and try not to spell it either. I think it's spelled the
Yeah.
Irish way as well, which is ZW1.
Yin Yang Nike symbol.
Yes.
Circumflex.
Well, do you know what? Actually, I'll be available for your podcast as well. If Will Smith pulls out, I'll fill in.
That's fine.
Okay,
Let's not talk about Will Smith pulling out. We'll get in
yeah.
trouble.
Let's do the very contrived fake goodbye. Thank you very much, everybody.